Hey folks. Alright, so get comfortable here. Whew. So I want to talk with you a little bit about rest. Rest is like a really important topic to me, and here I am resting, right? In my little hammock tent. And we haven't really talked about rest yet. It's, like I said, it's a super important topic to me. And it's not even just undervalued, it's actually seen as a bad thing in our culture, Western culture, and even like across the world. I'm sure there's some cultures that value it, and obviously that's a generalization, and we all need to sleep and all that baloney, right? That's not really deeply getting it. That's not like a full acknowledgement of the huge importance of what I want to talk about here. So years ago, I started really working with using rest as a tool to accelerate my learning and my growth and all that good stuff, right? What I would do, I developed. Oh, I just totally forgot about this. I developed and started using this exercise, this technique. I call it the relaxing exercise. So here's the relaxing. This is perfect. Here's a relaxing exercise for you, and this integrates the use of rest within purpose. Okay, so we're talking about purpose. We're talking about rest. We're talking about ability development. So that's the relaxing exercise. Okay, and this is what you do. So let's say you have an issue or thing you want to address in your life. Kind of like a problem and situation, whatever it is, okay? Anything. Could even just be a feeling or something that just doesn't seem right. So, speaking of rest, so start with that idea, thought, challenge, situation, right? Now, you go to lay down, and ideally you want to clear like a 3-hour window is most ideal. Whatever you got is fine, and you can build this up over a few days even, okay? Because rest can build in your system, and it changes, and I'll explain it in a minute. So but I'm going to break it into 3 sections that you're going to go through, and this could be broken up in greater or lesser amounts of depth based on how much time you spend with it. The first section, all you're doing in the first section is you're just resting. You're just getting some good rest in, all right? And I'll explain the significance of that in a minute. That could be the first hour if you're doing a 3-hour window. It could be the first 10 minutes. Probably is not enough for most people. But we're going to just, like I said, break it into sections in kind of like a fractal base thing. The second one, is when you kind of like let the idea come to your mind of what it is you're working on, but you don't actually try to actually work that. You just like let it surface. And then you might like go back to sleep, and then you rest. And even if you fall asleep, that's totally fine. But it's kind of a testament to exactly how much rest you need. Fall asleep, you probably need to start really building this as a daily or 3 days a week practice, right? So, second stage, when the issue comes up, and let's just say for ease of use, we're gonna use hours. So the second hour, where the idea kind of pops to the mind and you start working with it a little bit more loosely, but you're really not trying to process it. Then the third hour, the third stage, is where you're actually consciously working on the issue. You're kind of working. You don't necessarily have to really be in-depth brainstorming, but this is where you're like, if you have a feeling or a sensation about it, you like let yourself go with it, and it is a very much more conscious approach. So here's the reason you do this. Your subconscious mind, which governs everything, 95% of your experience, your your everything. It renders the colors into your experience. Look how beautiful this is out here. It handles all the color saturation, the textures, the experience of depth, everything. And your beliefs get worked into how you experience, and so much more. Integrates with the endocrine system and your emotions. And that's most of your brain, okay? And now, if you go and try to do something, learn something, read something, have a new experience, I found, and I believe, and what I'm telling you is my experience, is that it's very, very powerful and important. If you want to get a full extraction, saturation, and experience of it, take a rest, take a nap after it. It could be 10 minutes, could be 15 minutes. What you're doing is this. So your brain operates at many different frequencies. I don't know, like in a CPU and in a processor of a computer, you have like a general clock speed that the computer runs at, and that computers they do fluctuate it. But like, let's say on a cell phone, your cell phone is typically operating at probably a few different frequencies, but within a specified range. So your brain is operating is far more, way more sophisticated, obviously, than a cell phone, and it's operating at many different frequencies. And same with your body, and your organs all have different frequencies that they're operating at. Different frequencies equal different kinds of information. Okay, only certain kinds of information can travel at certain types of frequencies. So during the course of your day, if you let yourself rest and go down into more alpha and beta states of frequency levels, which is more, don't quote me, but probably more in the like 3, 4, 5 hertz to 100 hertz, 50, 200 hertz range. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. It's probably wrong. It might actually be more like in the 2 to 5, and then the 6 to 8. Maybe that sounds a little bit more right. You can look it up though. So, but what I'm saying though is that if you're always strung up on caffeine, staying at one frequency range. I mean, I had a lot of mate this morning, folks, right? So I'm resting now and letting my experience more deeply saturate. Here's another thing that happens. So that's just one part that happens. The other thing that happens that's also really important, as you start letting your body build energy back into it, you start being able to, your energy field, they call it your aura. Don't get all weirdy, spiritual, crazy, phobic on me now, okay? You are like a magnet. You have an energy field. You can actually, there's ways to measure how much energy is in a battery by using a device that just measures the magnetic field and the energy field around it. So go research that if you don't believe me. Okay, so, but your body is like a battery. They say your energy is mostly stored in your kidneys, in Chinese wisdom. However, as you start building up energy in your system, the field becomes bigger. So you have, what happens with that is that you have a bigger field, like a bigger satellite dish around you to receive and process and also transmit information. So as you build out your energy field, what happens is that you have access to greater amount of information. Now let's put this into context real quick. All right. So just make sure it's still on. Yeah, still on. So let me just put this into context. So let's say that you have, you exist solely within a room. Now you only have the resources that are available to you within a room, right? Now you might see that the world is kind of scarce, and you'd be like, oh, there's not a lot of stuff in the world. I need more food. It's very boring and whatever, right? Let's say then the next day or whatever, you get access to another room, and there's some same stuff, but a few new things in there, and your world just expands quite a bit. Now, when you start working with other people, you can have access to their resources if you can establish a consensual. Some people don't do it consensually. No, that's not good. That's creating lots of bad stuff for yourself. An exchange where you can access to what other people have too much of, and then you can get and balance it out and have access to greater variety of resources, which improves the quality of your life because you have more tools, basically. So that happens with your etheric field and your emotion, your etheric field, your your aura basically. And as it expands, you have access to more information basically. And you also can receive and transmit more greater depth and higher qualities of information. So what does that mean? That means that you're not going to be living in the same level of scarcity, because same world, you just have more access. It opens up more access for yourself. So that's important, because we're moving into like really like a world, like how do we create that world where we're feeling really good, happy, clear, abundant. If your energy field is not very nourished, nurtured, and full, sorry folks, no matter what, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. It's never gonna work like that. Everything starts from the spirit and then flows into the body. And the spirit is the higher vibrational aspects of who you are. Higher is not better. It is just greater amount of information per unit of space. Faster vibration has more wavelengths per, say, inch, or whatever your unit of measurement is, right? That's faster vibration. Slower vibrations, they're not worse either. The whole point, though, of doing like the relaxing exercise, you start going in and out of like the slower and then the higher vibrational states. And as you do more of this, go in and out, you start allowing those different aspects of your being and your body and your soul and your mind to communicate with each other. And as they do it, they start integrating. And then you can start having all those aspects working in harmony. So that's important. And I had a past life as a conductor, and I grew up with music. Since I was 4 years old, I started playing the violin. The world, maybe we'll save that. I think I'm running out of battery and space on my phone, so we can totally talk about those another time. It's fun, awesome, great topics. But like, what's a past life? I don't believe in them. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But it's a fun topic. And so, but I'm talking about conducting and bringing together many different frequencies, and I have a very innate capacity and knowledge about how those work. So, excuse me. So here we're talking about conducting and bringing together the harmonies of your bodies, letting your organs work together in harmony. You have a heart, which establishes a baseline frequency, rhythm for your body. And there's micro rhythms within that even, right? So I want to just open this topic up. This is obviously like just touching on it, but I think I've given you enough to kind of open your mind a little bit to thinking about these. You know what? Try the relaxing exercise out. It's tons of fun. You feel amazing after it. And just see and test out what the results are. I've worked a lot with my Living Treehouse Manual process with that, and was really able to process lots of information pretty quickly. But it does take some dedication and clearing and holding a sacred space for yourself to move through that. Maybe you have kids interrupting you all the time. So, you know what? Work with what you got. It's not the end of the world. Maybe you'll engage. You know what? Let's talk about the kids real quick, though. As you kind of get yourself more calm and stable, your kids will follow sync. You don't think so? Well, they might not, because there's a lot of other outside influences for kids. But you should do the relaxing exercise on how to support your kids in becoming more stable and healthy, and you're going to come up with some stuff. We'll talk a lot more about kids because it's a whole important topic, and there's so many topics we're going to talk about, folks. So I just am really grateful that you're taking the time to listen and watch this video, because these are topics that are dear to my heart. Some of these videos we get really into things, some of them are more just kind of like superficial and flighty, and that's okay. It's all good. Just enjoying chilling here. This beautiful, open this up here. Woo! Oops. Isn't this fun? Get yourself a hammock, folks. You just gotta. And if you want to order the tensile, use the link. I'll put one down there again if you want to check it out. Not for everybody. For some people, it's an absolute must. Take care, folks. See you around.